Invite our next speaker, Dr. Rajnish Tiwari, for his presentation on frugal innovation, mastering the challenges in the post-corona world. Over to you, Dr. Tiwari.
Yes, thank you very much. And yeah, distinguished fellow speakers, honorable host, I'm really looking forward to my talk. First of all, thank you very much for this invitation. And I wish to speak on how frugal innovations and frugal engineering in particular can help us master the challenges in the post-corona world. And in fact, Mr. Rajesh Nath, Shri Gupta, and also Dr. Nagahannamaiah have really given some very useful initial ideas, and also from the polls that you have conducted, there are some interesting ideas which I would like to connect to in the next slides. And unfortunately, when I made my slides, I was not aware that there would be this navigation, so I would have to keep on saying next. So please excuse that and please move on. So I would not speak much about me. I've been introduced already. So just one thing, you see here, there is a working paper which is called Opportunities of Frugality in the Post-Corona Era. This is one of our new publications where we explicitly talk about this theme and what is probably the scenario about innovations and why frugality might play a role and in what situation. So if you are interested, please have a look at this web page, which is available free of charge. Thank you very much. To the next slide, please. Yes, and we have established a Center for Frugal Innovation in September 2013. We have been involved in this research now for a long time. We do teaching, research and policy guidance and industry collaboration as a part of the Center for Frugal Innovation at Hamburg University of Technology. And if interested, just please have a look. And the next slide, please. Yes, we have been doing a lot of research in this area, and practically every year there has been some publication related to frugal innovation. So lots of books that have been published, and one of the books is now expected to come early next year. So this is the part which was about a brief introduction. Next slide, please. So what I want to speak with you today about is, first of all, to see how COVID-19 can act as a driver of affordable excellence. And then, as already has been mentioned today, we have to question the dominant logic of product innovation, of research and development. What is needed? Is over-engineering really something great that we would like to have? So we have to see what is the dominant logic of consumption and of innovation, and where do we need a re-questioning? Then why I believe, and obviously we all believe here, that frugal innovation can be a potential solution. And then how frugality can be implemented in the innovation process. So this is the agenda. Next slide, please. So as has been mentioned a couple of times, but we have not talked yet about figures and facts. So the International Monetary Fund, in April 14, they announced that the present corona crisis is going to have an impact which is about 30 times larger than the financial crisis of 2008-9. At that time, the global GDP shrunk only by 0.1% because some advanced economies were affected. But by and large, the major emerging economies, most importantly, obviously China and India, they continued to grow significantly, even if the growth rate slowed down, but the growth remained nonetheless. And so if in April 14, on April 14, 2020, IMF was expecting 3.0% shrinkage of global GDP. It was already 30 times larger than at that time in 2008-9. And on 24th June, they came up with a new estimate which says it would shrink even by 4.9%. So almost 50 times larger is the impact of COVID-19 than of the financial crisis in 2008 and 9. And with that, we can imagine what it is going to mean in terms of the availability of resources. How many people are going to lose their jobs? So there would be an impact on the supply side and on the demand side. Many industries would not be able to compete anymore. The global supply chains are affected, etc., etc. So we can all safely presume that we are dealing with something which is unprecedented. Next slide, please. But at the same time, as has been mentioned previously, this is also an opportunity for ingenious creativity. We see here, for instance, in Germany, a research by the KfW Bank said SMEs are responding creatively to the coronavirus crisis. So they're coming up with solutions which can help them in the short run. At the same time, we also see in India institutions like the IIT Roorkee or this small company in Pune, MyLab, they created solutions in a very fast way to deal with the corona crisis. And in fact, like the slides are not made today, but today I read a report from the IIT Delhi, which has launched another detection kit, which is costing only 655 rupees. And now you can imagine it's like costing less than $10. And if we were doing the same testing here in Germany, it costs somewhere between 200 and 300 euros. So what's the reason? How can you do it? Is it just like you could strip down the product and you could say, this is what frugal innovation is about? No. What they have done is they have found a new way to do things. It's a disruption. What they have found is that this virus has some unique regions, which is different from other types of coronaviruses that are already known to us. So now they can simply go directly for identifying those unique regions. So this is one idea, how you could call it jugaad maybe in some ways, but this is how they got a new idea. And this idea has been implemented in a cost-effective manner. And what it does is it increases affordability. And then I'll come to that point because in one of the polls, most of the people said it is about cost effectiveness, but I beg to differ. I would say it is much more about affordability. And then I'll talk about the reasons why I believe that's the case. Okay, next slide, please. So the you can make another click, please. So the animation comes all, yeah, two clicks probably or three. So what's the dominant logic? What drives consumption? So there has been a presumption in the industrialized world, especially, that there is a high demand for high-tech, expensive, highly sophisticated products and services because there are consumers who have a high purchasing power or a growing purchasing power. And there is this great slogan, which I really cannot even believe, but way back, about 20 years back, I went for the first time to London, and in a mall, I saw a big banner saying, I shop, therefore I am. So it was a very much consumption-driven society. And as a side result, of course, earlier the gadgets were the fatter ones and we were the thinner ones, but now the situation has changed. Is it affordable in today's age? Can we continue to go on consuming the way consumption has been done so far? Can we simply, even on the supply side, continue to make products that are not really needed by people, who do not have features that are required by people, but have hundreds of others that are required and that are not required and are present? So just to give you one example, if everyone on this planet was to adopt the lifestyle of a typical European, then one Earth would not be sufficient. We would need 3 planets. And if we were going to adapt the lifestyle of an average American, then the estimations say we would need not 1 planet or 3 planets, but 7 planets. We do not have that luxury. So this is one of the drivers of frugal innovation that we have to keep in mind, not only on the demand side, but also on the supply side. Next slide, please. So basically what I mean to say is that we have to transit to a new normal. The old way of doing things, the old innovation pathways are with really high probability not going to succeed, at least not uniformly. We do not need to emulate what has been done so far. And the corona crisis is not just about the corona crisis itself. We also have got other problems like the environmental issues that we have got, the overconsumption of resources, the food security issues, the need for affordable healthcare. If we do not take care of them, we are not going to be able to maintain law and order in the world. All that refugee crisis, etc. It would be impossible to manage if we are not taking care of those things which are addressed through sustainable development goals. And Dr. Dirk Massner, president of German Environment Agency, said, we believe that the current coronavirus crisis also offers a unique opportunity so that we can rethink current models of business and shape a new economic start on a more sustainable and future-proof basis. So this is where frugality comes into play. This is where frugal innovation can play a big role into this. Next slide, please. We have an over-engineering problem, and this cartoon maybe most of you would not be able to understand because it's written in German, but it's not just for Germany. It shows, I'll explain it for those of you who do not know German. Supposedly, if you go abroad and you want to purchase a train ticket or for the bus, it's so easy, put money here, card here, press button, take your ticket. But if you're in Germany, it's so complicated that, and now without a joke, you're likely to miss your next connection before you have really purchased the ticket. And it's almost always very complicated. So is this required? Do we need this? Why do we do it? So next slide, please. So over-engineering does not work. And one example, which is a very well-known example, General Electric came up with an electrocardiogram, which was called initially Mac 400 and Mac 800, Mac I, which is 20 times cheaper than the next product in the range. In the US, you would pay for an ECG machine $10,000, and this one developed in Bangalore in India for $535. 20 times cheaper, portable, easy to use, robust, can deal with electricity outages or with dust, for example. So a very good case of frugal solutions. Next slide, please. And you can press the button twice. I believe there's some animation on the slide. No, to go back. Yeah. So what it does is it makes use of, for example, and this is where frugal engineering comes into play. It makes use of things that are already available on the shelf on the one hand, so that you can reduce your product and development costs. And you can make use of open standards, you can use interfaces, make use of commercially available things, but at the same time, it uses the same algorithm as a high-end ECG machine. So it uses software as a platform, it guarantees that you have high quality. Very few buttons so that people can use it. Simple alphanumeric display, so easy to use. No unnecessary features are added to this. So this is the direction in which we have to go. Next slide, please. And there are some more examples from India, especially for frugal innovations, which have come, and courtesy and the Anjani Mashilka Foundation, I found some examples, especially the case of Trinetra, which is a portable, non-invasive, low-cost device for pre-screening of 5 major eye diseases related to cataract, diabetes, etc., for 1/6 of the cost. And why I picked up this example to describe frugal innovation, it connects very well to what was discussed earlier. Frugal innovation has been traditionally described as being very much focused on core functionalities. And this example shows us it does not always have to be the case. It can deal all together with 5 major eye diseases. So it has to be a context-specific solution. You should not have dogmas like whether I want to do it just for one thing or the other thing. Find out what is the core requirement, what are the aspirations of people, what are the requirements of people, and how can I best solve them. And then we move in the direction of affordability. Affordability cannot be achieved without being cost effective, but it is much more than just being cost effective. And I'll speak about that in a minute or so. The next slide, please. And very importantly, affordable excellence is not jugaad. This word has been used a couple of times today. Jugaad can be sometimes useful for improvising solutions, but Jugaad is not going to solve our problems in the long run. Yes, we can make a bicycle which can float on water. It's a great idea. Hats off to the innovator. But with due respect, we still need a bridge to cross the river. It does not help us all if we reach the other shore with wet clothes. Suppose if the small children are going to the next school, to the next village, we cannot let them go with this bicycle. So Jugaad is good. Grassroots innovations are great, but we still need things that can help us improve our standards of living in a sustainable manner, in a regulatory confirming manner, with a qualitative manner. And similarly, all those small sachets, they are nice to have, but they cause tremendous environmental damage. We cannot simply go on doing those things the way they have been done so far. Next slide, please. So I already talked a bit about the question of affordability and how it is different from being cost effective. So traditionally, we have, when we have talked about frugal innovation, we have always talked about being cost effective, reducing the costs. But the new research in this domain goes into the direction that it is not just about the monetary capacity to pay. What we also need to take care of is that it is socially justifiable. We cannot simply go on creating more cost-effective, let's say, illegal drugs, weapons for non-state actors, fair and lovely creams which might not be helping people. So there may be many things which could be made cost-effective, but they are not socially justifiable. Third aspect, infrastructural reasonability. When we come up with a solution, it should jig well with the given infrastructure that we have. If you are creating a solution for rural India or for anywhere else around the world, you cannot presuppose certain things which are not there. If your solution, for example, requires a broadband internet connection and it's not there, then it will not work. You cannot expect from your user, consumer, or otherwise B2B or B2C that they first invest a tremendous amount of money in the infrastructure in order to use your product, and it will not work out. And finally, but also very importantly, the environmental sustainability. If our product cannot cater to environmental sustainability, then it is going to lose out sooner or later, because this is a pressing challenge today, and we have to take care of that. Then excellence is not merely about hyper-technological complexity or the maximum possible technological performance. Excellence is created when we can find or create highly effective solutions in a resource-efficient manner. So the effectiveness of the solution and resource efficiency, this is what denotes excellence, and not just the maximum possible, theoretically possible technological performance. Next slide, please. So a couple of years back, we were doing a research project where we looked into technical inventions and we analyzed a number of patents where we could identify them being something which was related to frugality. So it was about inventions, not innovations, but those technologies were frugal. And through that analysis, a pattern emerged, which I would introduce briefly. And those of you who are interested in better or more elaboration can contact me later on, or can find that work, which has been published as working paper. So on 6 dimensions, design and development, performance features, production, distribution, customer orientation, and sustainability, what we discovered was that, for example, in design and development, those inventors who were doing frugal inventions, they opted for a compact design. They were looking at the reduction in number of physical parts, use of easily available components, technologies such as ICT gadgets, and very often a collaborative development in the open global innovation networks across firm and national boundaries. And this is like, I think just today, Dr. Mashelkar said, being Atmanirbhar, independent, self-reliant, also means that we work in or integrated with global supply chains, with global knowledge networks. It does not mean that we have to just do everything on our own, but that we have the capacity to do things on our own and then to collaborate. High quality, high reliability, reduction in number of production steps, cost and time effective production, cost effectiveness in storage and logistics, use of digital channels, better adaptation to unmet customer needs, easy access and high affordability, and reduction in need for material and minimizing waste. So this is what we have identified as being core intrinsic parts of frugal engineering through that patent analysis. Next slide, please. And through this research and some more which we have done in the automotive industry in India and in Germany, what we have seen is that there are certain pathways of affordable excellence, which is for us equivalent to frugal innovation. First of all, it is driven by 4 factors. There is a pressure to reduce costs. There are increasing regulatory standards. There is a need for sustainability, and digitalization is creating new avenues. Then frugal innovation are at their core having customer-specific value proposition. So very specific, very context-sensitive value proposition. Minimal use of resources and an affordable total cost of ownership, not just the price point, including repair, including operational issues, including disposal at the end of the day. So the total cost of ownership has to be affordable. For that, we have to create frugal designs. We cannot simply strip down a product of its features and then hope it will work. It does not work in most of the cases. And we need to have a frugal culture in the company, so a corporate culture which supports frugality. Okay, next slide, please. And so how can frugal innovations be implemented? And I believe there are 3 core issues. First of all, we need, and the most important part is this one, we need to have a strategic intent. The company must be able to identify those market segments where it is going to be required. What is happening in the post-corona world, or even prior to corona? What are the growing segments? Where do we have this saturation? So new avenues coming because of global sustainable development goals. So the strategic intent to develop frugal innovation, the top management support is required. Social awareness. We need to understand what's going to happen to the environment. We need to understand why do we need to be resource efficient? Why we cannot simply go on emulating the previous pathways of innovations. And then we need organizational agility with digital transformation, with collaboration. We need to move fast along the value chain, think fast, act fast, fail fast, succeed fast. Design thinking, all those issues that would come up. So they will enable us to create frugal solutions. Thank you. The next slide, please. And with that, I come to my concluding slide. Frugal innovation is for me not just about more from less for more. This is how it has been defined so far in many research papers. It's not wrong, but now there is time to move on. We need to not simply say frugal innovation is about finding a particular solution with the most cost-effective things. No, it is about achieving affordable green excellence. Affordability is the necessary condition. Without this, it cannot work. We need green because without green, it will fail sooner or later because the state is going to intervene or whatever is going to happen. But without addressing environmental issues, it will not work. Without excellence, it will not work. So we are going to live in a frugal age, affordable green excellence, which is powered by digital transformation. And this excellence, and this is the core difference to what was said with more from less for more. Excellence from less for all and anyone, because digitalization allows us to create context and user-specific solutions. We do not have to always think of economies of scale. With 3D printing, with additive manufacturing, with other things, we can create solutions which can be very specific to a particular person's needs and even then be highly affordable. With that, yes, next slide, please. And yeah, thank you very much for your attention. And I look forward to any discussion and questions afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tiwari, for a very insightful and enriching presentation, sharing the various facets of frugal innovation with an affordable excellence. Thank you very much.